And we are live on this beautiful Sunday night. How you doing, everybody? It's your boy Wardy, and as you can see, we're back at it talking about the Amazings, and we're also back at it breaking down the latest New York Metropolitan move as they have signed Sean Manaea to a 2-year, $28 million deal, which includes a player option after the 2024 season for Manaea. So basically, if Manaea balls out and has a nice season for the Mets, he's going to opt for free agency. If he doesn't, he's probably going to opt into that deal for the second year for 2025. We're going to be breaking down everything that you need to know more about Sean Manaea and his game. We, of course, did an initial reactionary vid that I recorded around, I don't know, 6 or 7 a.m. earlier this morning. The news officially broke around 5 a.m. today from Jon Heyman. I was sleeping, and honestly, I'm not going to be jumping out of my bed to do an early live show for Sean Manaea. I'm sorry. Yoshinobu Yamamoto? Yes. Sean Manaea? Absolutely not. But once I woke up, saw the news, recorded it in a hotel bathroom, because you got to do what you got to do. No, I was not sitting on the John for said video, but I wanted to be separate from waking up people in the hotel room, so that's exactly why I was a little echoey in there. But I want to share my further reactions as someone who's been out of town all weekend, finally back home. We have a live show that I'll be doing tomorrow with everyone's favorite Jolly Olive. We have a thorough breakdown to do on the New York Metropolitans and what is in store for them for the remainder of this offseason. But in tonight's live show, I know a lot of you guys are going to be watching this on replay, so make sure to smash that like and subscribe button for your boy. It's greatly appreciated. We're going to get into more about Manaea, my personal thoughts about him, what I like about him, maybe what I don't like. Ultimately, why did the Mets make this move versus potential other options in the free agent market? Are the Mets done adding for said rotation, and what will their next moves be? And then some is what we'll be breaking down in tonight's live show. But everyone first chiming in, I see John, Juan, Dave, how you doing? Dave, by the way, Dave, I did in fact get everything that you sent to the P.O. box. Thank you so much, my friend. I do not have everything on hand with me at the moment for the live show, so I'm going to show those probably in tomorrow's live show, if not later in the week. So stay tuned for that, Dave. I know I need to reach out to you on a personal level. Thank you so much for your endless generosity. I'm beyond pumped up for everything you sent my way. Also, I'm going to be building shelves, finally, long overdue, sooner than later, before the season begins back here, because I got a lot of stuff to put on those shelves for you guys. Got so many things to frame, all that stuff. So again, Dave, love you, brother. Shout out all my members watching live on a replay. If you're new, reoccurring, whoever you are, thank you guys all so much for being in here. And also shout out to BetUS for being the sponsor of the video, but a little bit about them later in the show. But right now, what I want to know to everyone first chiming in, how do you guys feel about the Mets signing Sean Manaea to this 2-year deal? I mean, I did the video, it leads YouTube right now, which is crazy. We're already at 10,000 views on that video. Just me, literally half days. I'm running on straight adrenaline, mind you. I have not slept in over 24 hours, so I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. It has been a whirlwind the past day, really the past weekend or so, but I want to know how you guys are feeling about the Manaea news. I saw a plethora of your comments already. There's at least, I think, 200 in the video that came out earlier, but I want to see it here in the people on replay. Same applies down below. Do you like this move? Do you not like this move? Because again, in case you've been living under a rock, the New York Metropolitans needed to add to this rotation. We all knew this. Is this a name that I would have preferred over, say, some other guys, especially in the trade route? No, of course not. However, evaluating the free agent starters available out of that core 3 in the Sean Manaea, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Mike Clevenger, Manaea was my favorite pick. So I'm glad the Mets picked the best out of essentially the worst, the bottom of the barrel guys. And yes, Sean Manaea is certainly a guy that can be impactful for this team, but I'd like to clarify a couple things. Lord Rage, thank you so much for the donation. Really appreciate you, my man. 24-hour stream, God, no, not right now at least. Something that I really want to talk about right now is my most disliked signing so far. Okay, Juan, I'm going to get into... First of all, you actually weren't as accurate as what you believe, my friend, regarding Sean Manaea and his lack of success last year. I'm going to get into why we should be at least intrigued by Sean Manaea for the Mets, what we like about him, what are the concerns heading into the season. But something I'd like to clarify right now, because this has been a back and forth I've done with a lot of Mets fans so far this offseason. Are the Mets punting 2024? I think it's important that we break down what the term punting means. Now, if you are a fan that believes the term punting means a team is not spending a ridiculous amount of money for the first time in a couple off seasons and knowing that they're going to be fielding a roster that will be competitive, but will be anything but a sure lock for playoffs, if you view that as punting, then yes, you could say the Mets are punting. The reason why and I will continue to reiterate this, I'm not under the belief that the Mets are punting whatsoever, is because my belief of punting is basically when you're in full rebuild mode, when you do not have a talented roster whatsoever, when you do not have a core group of talent that could help propel you and get on win streaks, when you do not have any of those things and then some. The Mets have their core group. Their offense is going to be very similar to what it was last year on paper. They still want to address the DH position. We all know that. We'll get into that shortly. They may address outfield, but again, I would say wishful thinking. Don't get your hopes on that at this current point. So it depends on what your belief, what your stance on punting is. If your understanding is, hey, we're not signing all the biggest names in the free agent market this year, and we're not trading for everyone, and because of that reason, we're punting, okay, then you can label 2024 as a punt. I'm not labeling it as a punt, however, because I'm under the belief if you're punting, again, you're not going out and still trying to better the club for the upcoming season. And now the counter that I hear from fans is, oh, of course they're punting because they're acquiring short-term assets that they can trade away at the trade deadline. They can trade away the players at the trade deadline if the Mets are clearly in a position by then where they are not even considering being buyers. I can assure you one thing right now. If the Mets are not, say, 7 games below 500 by the deadline, they're more than likely going to be buyers. And you have the Arizona Diamondbacks from last year. You have the Philadelphia Phillies from 2 years ago to thank for this reason. All it takes is to be one above 500. But again, you just need those couple wins above 500 we've seen in recent years to crack the wild card. And then from there, anything can happen. So again, I understand this constant discourse going back and forth on where you stand regarding punting. Means avoiding top and second tier and signing lesser. No, it doesn't. Luis, it doesn't mean that when it doesn't go in hand with the structure. Are we going to say that the LA Dodgers punted on last season because they basically virtually did nothing? They let Trey Turner walk. Who in the right mind is saying the LA Dodgers punted last season when they still had a very, very strong regular season? And of course, they fell short in postseason play. But that doesn't change the fact that just because the Dodgers didn't spend much at all doesn't mean they're punting. That's the same premise here with the Mets. The Mets, here's the thing. No one and their mother would be claiming that the Mets are punting 2024 if they landed Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And they did everything they could to land Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He used the Mets like a fiddle and took the same exact deal to the Dodgers, said, hey, match this and I'm yours. No one, and I mean no one, would be saying the Mets are punting 2024 if they just landed the guy that they did everything they could to possibly land who fits the short-term and long-term bill. So to those fans in particular, I'm done listening to you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to acknowledge that anymore because it's pointless. But for the fans that, again, can come up with these rightful back and forth, this discourse regarding the punting, I will certainly have those discussions, but do not be that hypocritical fan and just saying, oh, because we didn't land Yamamoto, that means we're punting 2024. That's not the case whatsoever. They're going to be competitive. I really think the Mets are going to surprise people next year. I'm not just saying this as a Mets fan. I love the fact that they have low expectations heading into the year, because what the Mets prove us, when they have expectations in recent years, they play like absolute dog shit. Why should we believe that the philosophy the Mets have done the past couple of years is the right philosophy when we have quickly learned that it does not amount to success? Steve Cohen tried to buy a championship. It did not work. Now he's playing both the short and long-term game. And if you're not buying in on that, that's fine. That's your opinion. You can do that. But keep in mind that there's a structure that's finally being built here. Yes, I want the Mets to do more. Yes, this offseason has been underwhelming on paper. There's no denying that. Two things can be true at the same time, and I certainly believe that is the case here when breaking down all the layers here. And no, Rob. If you don't like it, my friend, you could just, with all due respect, just don't listen. Don't watch. It's as simple as that. You guys come to hear my opinions, whether you agree or disagree, that's entirely up to you, but I'm just voicing them right now. And again, as someone who interacts with this community as much as I do on a daily basis, it has been quite the interesting divide with the fans on what they currently believe is punting versus not punting. But now let's get into the moves. I want to talk a lot about Sean Manaea right now because you see the stat line down below by Sean. We talked about him not long ago. Again, I appreciate everyone for chiming in live on a replay. Greatly appreciate it, guys. Thank you all so much in advance for the analysts. Sorry about that too. I clicked the wrong thing by accident. Almost used an old ad read there. But now let's get into this. Why am I clicking on it? It's been a long day, guys. Look at the stat line for Sean Manaea. How are we feeling? Actually, I want to get a pull up in the live show too while I'm at it. But this is a joke. Stop it. Mets are a third, maybe. Yes, the Mets are the third best team in their division. That's correct. I hope you understand that being third in your division does not mean that's impossible to crack playoffs when the NL East, you could rightfully argue, is one of, if not the hardest division in baseball. It's up there. I don't think it's, You probably can't argue it for this season, in my opinion, just because of what the Dodgers did, the Padres. I'm trying to think. Why am I blanking so bad? Dodgers, Padres, D-backs. Like, that's a big 1, 2, 3 there in the NL West. And it's up for interpretation which one you think is more dominant versus the other for this upcoming year. But I do want to put up in the chat right now for everybody a poll. So let's get that going right now. And then I'll break down plenty more of Manaea. This isn't MLB The Show. How dare you say that, one? How dare you be rational, you son of a gun. Also, halfway to 100 likes. Thank you guys all so much for that. Continue to smash those buns. Really does mean a lot. Okay, there we go. There we go, everybody. So let's talk about Sean Manaea for the 5th and final time, 10 minutes into the damn show. Apologies for people on replay, too. Like I said, I've had a ridiculously long past 48 hours, but I really want to get the show done today because tomorrow, we're doing a show with Jolly All that is separate from this discussion. So we got plenty to talk about in a short period of time. Dave, thank you so much for the donations as always, Dave. Love you, brother. He says, Teoscar signs with the Dodgers $23 million for 1 year. Only $15 million will be paid. The rest is deferred like Ohtani. That is correct. I'm not going to expand on that much. Teoscar Hernandez, for people wondering why didn't the Mets do the deal? How could they not sign Teo to only $23 million over 1 year? It's almost like the Dodgers are a desirable franchise unlike any other for a lot of free agents in the market right now, to the point that guys are taking $8.5 million deferments, which is the case with Teo on that 1 year deal. Teoscar Hernandez is now going to be in a ridiculously deep lineup where he can uptick his offensive numbers from this past season on a consistency basis. He has the best chance to win a World Series on paper, and should he ball out and have a great year for the Dodgers, maybe even win a championship with them, he can then hit the open market next offseason and get an absolute bag of a payday. If I'm Teoscar Hernandez, I'm doing that every single day of the week, and I'm not even considering another club, because why would you? The LA Dodgers on paper are truly in another realm versus most clubs in baseball right now. There's a select few that really come up close to the Dodgers, Braves being one of them, of course, but we'll see how things pan out. I'm not shocked. I was surprised by the short-term deal, but once I realized it was the Dodgers, I wasn't shocked by that. You're going to see many guys start to take shorter-term deals to be with the LA Dodgers for their chance to win a championship and increase their market value for the ensuing offseason going forward. Sean Manaea, why do I like him so much as a fit for the Mets here? I like him because he fits the bill for them to get a guy that has upside as a number 3 starter, and at absolute worst can be a very solid swingman for you. And as we've discussed at great length already, and I will continue to do so, Sean Manaea's arsenal has changed quite a bit over the past calendar year. This is not the same Sean Manaea that had a meatball of a fastball sitting around 90, 91, 92 on average on the gun with the San Diego Padres, getting barreled left and right, getting his damn teeth kicked in. No, this is a Sean Manaea now that, since working with Driveline, is sitting easily 94, 95, 96, even 97 on the heater. Why is that important? Having solid velo from the left side, being a southpaw, is important. And you don't see, there aren't a tremendous amount of flame-throwing southpaw starting pitchers and relievers in the game of baseball currently. Manaea has found himself in this unique category where he's got the fastball velo to uptick. His K per 9 was around a 10 K per 9 this past season, which was a full strikeout higher than the San Diego Padres 2022 season. He was utilized both as a starter and as a reliever. You see the stat line down below: 37 games, 10 starts, just under 120 innings, 4.4 ERA, 4.18 expected ERA. Since implementing the sweeping curve slider, however you want to call it, in his arsenal, he has had a 3.6 ERA with just over a 3 FIP. Yes, it is still a fairly small sample size. I'd like to make that clear. It's from this past calendar season. But Sean Manaea is someone that can be utilized in various ways for the Mets. Again, I'd imagine he's going to be starting more often than not. But I think us Mets fans also need to mentally prepare ourselves for a Mets club that is going to have plenty outings that are similar to the Milwaukee Brewers, that are similar to the Tampa Bay Rays. What do I mean by this, you might ask? What I mean is you're going to have times where Sean Manaea may come in and pitch 3 innings. Then you're going to have another guy come in for a lot of relief. Again, Trevor Williams types that come in and need another 3 innings. And then you go from there. The Mets do not have quality in their rotation, but what they do have is a quality amount of depth, and they're going to maximize that to their potential. As things currently stand, their rotation consists of Kodai Senga, Jose Quintana, Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, Adrian Hauser, Jose Buto, Joey Fuego, Joey Lucchesi, Tyler McGill, right? So you're telling me you have 3 starters that are most certainly major league caliber, not guys we want starting consistently in the McGills, the Lucchesis, the Butos of the world, even though I will say Jose Buto did look really strong down the stretch for the Mets. I was liking what I was seeing stuff from him. Having that amount of MLB caliber depth, starting with your 6, 7, 8, and then eventually when David Pearson's back, your 9th starter, that's key. The Mets are going to get very creative with lawn relievers. I think they're going to stick internally with those options, what they have now. I don't anticipate them to get, there's a pitcher, for example, Jacob Junis, most recently San Francisco Giants. Beautiful swingman option if you could bring him in, but he really doesn't make too much sense now given the fact that the Mets have a lot of inning eaters options now. They have guys that can eat major league innings, that can sit around a 3.5 to 4 ERA, keep you in competitive ball games, and take things from there. So that is another appeal to someone like Sean Manaea on this 2-year deal. And as I mentioned, if he balls out and say has a really nice 2024 for the Mets, he will likely then opt out of that deal and look for a bigger, more mid to long-term contract should he be able to get one after the conclusion of the 2024 season. But Manaea, what separates him now versus what he was not all that long, yeah, Jose Quintana is our freaking number 2, and I agree. I'm not happy about it. I'm going to tell you right now, I want the Mets to make more rotation moves, and that goes into another discussion that we need to have right now. Are the Mets going to land another starting pitcher? We're looking at around 85% no. And this comes from Will Salmon of The Athletic. He did not put the percentage, but he said the Mets are done adding to the rotation. I've talked with multiple people in the industry today, and I've been relayed the same exact message. The Mets, of course, would love the idea of a Dylan Cease. They would love a Jesus Luzardo. They would love a true bona fide, multi-years worth of control, younger ace caliber at minimum, number 2, number 3 starter in your rotation. But you have to give to get for these guys, and the Mets have such a heavy emphasis on not only next year's market, but also the upside and the short-term options that they have, that they are going to be stubborn. They're not going to have a heavy willingness to want to part ways with these top guys, prospects-wise, which from Stearns and the Mets' point of view, I understand, but when fielding a 2024 roster, and this goes back to my original point, 2 things can be true at the same time. We can agree that this is very much along the wavelength of the Mets' philosophy this season with the moves that they have done. But we can also agree that it does not change the fact that from the fan point of view, with how the roster currently looks on paper, with more moves to be had for the bullpen, for the DH at minimum more than likely, it's underwhelming. It's not exciting for fans, regardless of how much we love Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Francisco Alvarez, Brandon Nimmo, the list goes on and on, Jeff McNeil, all these talents in the lineup. You can only get so far when you don't have pitching. And that is why David Stearns has put such a heavy emphasis not only on adding as much to the rotation as possible, even if it's a quality over quality, which is certainly looking like the case here, knowing that they're not likely going to land another ace caliber pitcher, but having that heavy emphasis on run prevention. Harrison Bader is one of the best center fielders in all of baseball. The guy can't hit a lick against righties, but he can certainly hit a lick against lefties. He is a true platoon option that, of course, will get more playing time than just batting against lefties. He's going to get plenty of starting reps in center with Brandon Nimmo shifting to left to keep his legs fresh throughout the season. But this goes in hand with the Mets' philosophy and David Stearns. If you're not going to have a star-studded rotation especially, you need to have a further emphasis on preventing runs. And what were the Mets horrendous with? Not only with their rotation depth since Steve Cohen became owner, their defense. The Mets have been a bottom 5 team in baseball in so many defensive statistics over the past number of years. The Milwaukee Brewers under David Stearns have been a top 5 team, and not only pitching staff, but also in team defense every single year. And what has that led to? That's led to a great amount of success for a ball club that works with such a tight budget. And again, I understand. Trust me when I tell you, I hear all the Mets fans out there that are underwhelmed with this offseason. I too find myself in that category. Regardless of the fact that I kind of saw the writing on the wall with a lot of this to this point, I preached it. It doesn't change the fact that I want more moves. I want exciting moves. We've spent the past couple off seasons essentially winning the offseason. But what it also does, it also tells us what we have been doing wrong at the same time. We put such a heavy emphasis to the sexy names, the grizzled vets, these guys on short-term fits that could just be a beautiful match, and they were anything but. They couldn't stay healthy. They couldn't stay consistent. The team with freaking pressure on them was like Trump when he sees the lights. He's yelling, turn those lights off. You can't handle the pressure. The Mets could not handle the star-studdedness that came with the label heading into 2023 regular season, and that goes in hand with why I feel the way I do about this 2024 club under new manager and Carlos Mendoza, under new Pobo and David Stearns. I'm going to give a leash because they're going to get a leash, whether you like it or not. This is how the club is going to be running. And I firmly believe the Mets are going to be putting themselves in a position where even though, yes, they will on paper likely be the third best team in the NL East, they are going to be fun. They're going to be exciting. You're actually going to look forward to watching Mets games. Even if they do get blown out here and there, which won't shock anyone, especially if, say, Adrian Hauser has a flat fastball one night and then bam, we're getting rocked and we can't make up for it before we know it. Point is that what did we witness this past season from the Mets? A team with little amount of expectations. They played like shit from the beginning and they played like shit all the way till the end. Of course, the trade deadline played a part, but you see my point here. This team is going to be entertaining. This club is going to be pushing an effort to make playoffs. Whether they do or not, we'll reassess once we get the first couple months of the season away. Even once you're at the halfway mark of the year, you still don't know what you have. How many teams have we seen with dominant first halves and not make playoffs? Reminds me of the New York Mets that we've seen in many years. So it's going to be an interesting one to evaluate. But to all the fans out there that truly are writing off the Mets as if they're not even going to have an entertaining season, that there won't be things to look forward to, I'm sorry to hear that from your point of view, because that will not be the case with me. And I know for certain that's not going to be the case with many fans here currently watching the show. Lord, thank you for the donation again. I appreciate this. Juan with the $5 donation. Juan says, Mets tried to sign all-stars short-term deals and they flopped. Signing free agents doesn't always work. Mets must build a foundation first. Yes, they do. And the reason why we're putting all this emphasis and pressure on Cohen is because of the fact that Cohen came in and blew the freaking doors open right away. There's a luxury tax because of Cohen. In reality, that whole fucking tax and then some should be going to Friedman and the LA Dodgers, because they're the ones that are manipulating. Steve Cohen has a ridiculous tax. The Mets lead luxury tax this season, mind you, when he's eating the salaries of Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, right? But we have to deal with the penalty when he was just trying to do what he thought was best for the club, as someone who, again, has learned a lot in a very short period of time under a bunch of different front offices already. He's trying to get the structure right. David Stearns is going to help get this team structure right, but it's also going to mean that this season, exactly what we thought heading into it, is going to be this not rebuilding year, not this punt year, but it's going to be this transitionary year in the sense that they're going to be pushing hard for playoffs. There's no guarantee that they'll make it. Wouldn't surprise me if they don't make it. Wouldn't surprise me if they do make it as well. And I'm just really intrigued to see how everything's going to play out, because they have more moves that they need to make. And what are the biggest moves that they still need to make? It's for the bullpen and it's for the DH position. If you want JD Martinez, Justin Turner, or Jorge Soler, do me a favor and raise your hand up in the chat for your boy. People on replay, same applies. Raise your hand up if you want the Mets to land one of the three following players. I'm going to expand on them a bit more in tomorrow night's live show, which I'm excited about, with my man Jolly All. Make sure you chiming in for that one. But the rotation, again, whether we like it or not, as someone who wants Jesus Luzardo, as someone who wants Dylan Cease, as someone who would love the idea of all these trade type pitchers, I have a sliver of hope that could still be had, but I'm not getting my hopes up. As of now, I'm under the belief the Mets rotation is rounded out for the 2024 season, and it will not change until we hear reporting to suggest otherwise. If we hear that the Mets acquire Dylan Cease, then by God, I'm feeling so much better about this rotation this season, even if it means you're giving up decent assets in the farm. Jesus Luzardo, Freddie Peralta, Mitch Keller, woo. I mean, there's so many talents from Seattle as well you could try to pick and choose from. What I know, again, is that this team is still, in my opinion, an ace and number 2 away from really being in a position where there's a comfortability level for said rotation. But what the Mets at minimum have built here, at least, is a rotation whose floor is far greater than we have seen in recent years. Why is that? There's longevity, there is more consistency, and you're getting guys that, again, can eat quality innings for you. As star-studded, as much as we love Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, what is something all these star-studded aces have in common? It's not staying healthy. They cannot stay on the field for various reasons, right? Either it was because it was age reasons, or it was because your body can't catch up to you when you're throwing the best fastball in Major League Baseball and that slider mix in Jacob deGrom. Now we look at the Mets here. We look at what they are building. We look at what they are planning to build still for the remainder of the offseason. I don't expect the Mets to do a ridiculous amount of more moves. I anticipate they're going to add at minimum one, if not two more relievers for the bullpen, more high leverage types, guys that can eat innings for them, but also eat at very quality in doing so. Please give me one of Matt Moore, Brent Suter. I would love that. There's so many other great reliever names out there highlighted by David Robertson, Phil Maton. I mean, you got Robert Stevenson. Hector Neris had a great year, but I want nothing to do with Hector. That just goes back to his time with Philly. That's complete bias related. I will openly say that. There's so many others. Ryan Stanek, who would be a fantastic pickup for this team, and then some. And DH-wise, you got all these fits too. So out of the DH options, Jorge Soler, of course, would be beautiful. He would be masterful. I'm not getting my hopes up on Jorge Soler just because his market's been so quiet at this point. We've seen nothing indicate the Mets are willing to sign a multi-year deal for a DH. And if what Andy Martino has reported recently to hold true at all, the Mets aren't planning to really get in a bidding war for JD Martinez or Justin Turner either, more so on JD Martinez, because they're curious on what they still have in the DJ Stewarts and the, and the Mark Vientoses of the world. And while I understand that mindset, while I understand that philosophy, again, two things can be true. While that might not be a bad idea, maybe the Mets could get themselves over 20 bombs combined between the two and the DH position if, say, they do a platoon, right? Maybe that fails completely. And they have another year leading up to the trade deadline where they have a mediocre DH position because they decide not to address it. We're never going to forgive the Mets for not addressing that DH position enough when it comes to power in the 2022 season. We're never going to forget that. And that will always be the year that us Mets fans felt got away because they did not do more than what they did. Michael Givens, Tyler Naquin, Darren Ruff, is Daniel Vogelback. These moves are not going to get it done. You know what I mean? And David Stearns has had great success throughout his career, not only in trade deadline success, but also offseason trade success. He's been heavily active in the trade market. So I'm just really curious to see if David has something up his sleeve. Again, I'm not talking ace caliber for a pitcher. He was so active in the trade market for an outfielder, right? He ended up with Harrison Bader. He did get Tyrone Taylor too via trade. He was so active in the pitching market, right? Didn't get Lucas Giolito, didn't get Yamamoto, got Manaea on this potential 2-year deal. But you're still missing stuff here. The Mets are still missing stuff. Even if the Mets land JD Martinez, let's talk hypothetical. So the Mets sign JD Martinez. Let's say they get David Robertson to be their setup man and one more piece for their pen, right? And they're calling it a day. That's your 2024 Mets. That Mets team is a borderline. That's a fringe wildcard team right there. Fringe. And I say fringe because it's all contingent on the consistency from the offense, the longevity of the bullpen, and the uniqueness of the rotation and how they can go about every fifth day with their starters. If they are going to be able to eat quality innings for you, if they're going to have to get creative and have a lot of guys have short starts or come in as long relief, and that's how they stay in games, whatever they're going to do, the Mets will be a fringe playoff club if they address the remaining areas of need. If they do not address the remaining areas of need in that hypothetical, say they don't do anything for DH, say they don't do anything for bullpen, they most certainly are going to for at least bullpen, at absolute minimum. We know that. If they don't do those moves, then my confidence level in this 2024 Mets is just about as strong as the next guy. It's cautiously optimistic, which was my thought process a lot in previous regime. You know, where you're just like, okay, we'll see what we got. We know we have a nice core here, but we still have a gaping hole in like 2 positions. I feel us Mets fans have went through every single year. They've got the depth down. We know that, and that's good. That's going to help this team in spades, far more than I think the average fan seems to realize. But beyond that is where we start to have an issue. So we're going to find out what the Mets do for the remaining roster spots. Of course, the roster is filled once Harrison Bader becomes official. I think he did already, if I'm not mistaken. The Mets have to DFA guys. They have to trade guys. More moves are on the horizon. Now, we're going to see throughout the week. I'm pretty confident the Mets will be making more moves this week. I was very confident the Mets were going to be making a signing. I had a very strong feeling it was going to be a Manaea type too. I don't know why I didn't have the thumbnail prepped. I had a little mic on me. Guys, I was in a casino for a good portion of yesterday, just, with family. We just had a little oddly enough, we thought that, a little family reunion, because I don't live in New York, but a large contingency of my family's from there. We thought it'd be a good idea to kind of hang around in a casino. I don't know why. There's nothing fun about just losing money right away, unless you're investing in the sports book. Shout out to BetUS as always, that we'll get into shortly. But I had the little lapel mic that I used in the bathroom at like 7 in the morning today in my pocket all day long over the past day in anticipation that the move was going to happen. And of course it happens as soon as I finally am laying down, even though it was in fact not because of I was sleeping. I was up literally like all night, but it was more so because I didn't have my ringer on, so I missed it for the first couple hours. Let's see. 82 wins is feasible with the DH and bullpen piece at minimum in my estimation. Yeah, and here's the thing. We can estimate all we want. How about Trevor Bauer? Trevor Bauer's not going to be a New York Met. I'm done wasting my breath on Trevor Bauer. Yes, I know that he had a very detail-oriented interview with WFAN. Yes, I know he had one with Fox News. Why do the Mets need to be the team to kind of help right his wrongs? Trevor, in many aspects, put himself in this mess. Not for everything. Not for everything. I like to make that clear. I know that what he was accused of versus what reality of with certain things is very different. I don't hate Trevor Bauer. I'll say it again. He's not going to be a New York Met. Just because he interviewed with the fan does not mean anything. The Mets are not signing Trevor Bauer this season. I think the more fans just start to grasp that obvious reality, the better. Because I'm not doing discourse for Bauer. If you want to check out my previous comments about Bauer, watch the video I did about Bauer saying how the Mets are not signing him. Nothing changes just because he's doing some interviews and manning up and saying, "Oh, yes, I was at fault for everything." Even that's true. And again, good for you, Bauer. That's great. I wish him well. I'm not opposed to him potentially even being back in the bigs, but he's not going to be a Met. So I'm not exaggerating beyond that at this point. And that's not as an insult to anyone or anything like that. I've talked at great length about him already, and it's not happening. So we're just wasting time here. You know, I know a lot of moves the Mets, a lot of players the Mets have been connected to throughout the offseasons. They end up not landing, but there's at least justified reasons as to why we discuss them as much as we do, because there's continued interest. The Mets are negotiating. They're giving offers. Even if they don't land them, a lot of times it's not for a lack of effort. In the case of Trevor Bauer, it is most certainly because of a lack of effort, because the Mets don't have interest in at all in Trevor Bauer, okay? And I'm not just saying that as a fan. I'm saying that also as someone who has spoken to people in the industry about Bauer. I did that prior to even doing my video on him. Like, are we leaning more this way? It seems obvious, but I just like to reiterate. And they said exactly that. So that is what I'll leave you with. Done with the Bauer stuff. And more than anything, he did fuck us a couple years ago. And that is something that I know not only myself haven't forgotten, but is also the case with Steve Cohen to an extent. We're done. Done about Bauer. Okay. You guys will step up lots of good talented prospects, at least if you'll work out. One of them, the big prospect, there's two prospects that the Mets, I shouldn't say are hoping to break out, but are probably expecting to have an impact. Drew Gilbert at some point this season, corner outfield, big piece from the Justin Verlander trade. Mike Vassell is a starting pitcher name to keep an eye on, as well as he's getting close to his ETA. Those are the names. Jet Williams will be awesome, but I don't see Jet called up unless a significant injury happens to Jeff McNeil or if Jeff gets dealt. And truthfully, love Jeff. I won't be shocked if he's involved in the trade market over the next year or so, just because the Mets do have Luis Angel Acuna and Jet Williams, two potential, again, projected to be second baseman at the MLB level as soon as the season, are in the Mets farm. So they have a logjam there. They have to figure out what they want to do. Brandon Woodruff is awesome. Brandon Woodruff, in my opinion, would be a fantastic pickup for the Mets to have him rehab with them and his shoulder, hopefully get that right or close to, and see what we have with him in 2025. Wardy's just a feminist? Oh, fuck off, game. Are you that stupid? I was literally glazing the guy left and right the entire Bauer sweepstakes. OGs on the channel know that I was a heavy fan of Trevor Bauer's throughout the entire Mets sweepstakes 3 years ago. That's what helped the channel pop off initially when it did. So for me to go, you can get your panties in a twist all you want, okay? I know how much you love your righteous Trevor Bauer, but the reality is, whether you like him or not, regardless of how you feel, he's not going to be a Met. That is all I'm telling you. It's factual. It's not going to happen. That's why I've been so adamant about it. It doesn't have anything to do with my personal opinion. I don't dislike the guy. I don't hate him at all. So that sounds like a you problem, my friend. You have fun with your panties in a twist. Can't relate. Gilbert is a gamer. Hard nose. Yeah, I like Drew Gilbert a lot. I'm looking forward to see what he can do for us. I really do. And I don't think Drew Gilbert's going to crack the team out of spring or anything like that, but he's most certainly a player that can have quite the impact on the club once you're a couple months into the season. So we will soon find out on the Gilbert front. Mets need Shota Imanaga. As much as I like Shota Imanaga, it's not happening, guys. I think we've been made abundantly clear. The Mets are not spending more than a year or two on a start in this free agent market. I like Shota Imanaga a lot, and I wish him well. He's more than likely not going to be a Met. That is all but done. All but official at this point. Where he wanted bad doing all night. Exactly. And I was an advocate for Bauer even with his extrovert personality that a lot of people didn't like. I was even advocating for it there. So I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear it. Just tell me you're casual without telling me you're casual. It's okay. We have plenty of those. Not surprised. Guys, before we go further in the show, because I got plenty more to say, we'll wrap things up probably around, 50 minutes to an hour mark. But before I do, I, of course, have to let you all know about today's video sponsor.
BetUS, America's favorite sports book, where you can bet on everything, anytime. Sportsbook, casino, horse racing, live betting, and more. We have the best bonuses in the industry. That's right, get a 125% sign-up bonus. And to celebrate our 30-year anniversary, we are giving up to 30 risk-free bets, a truck, Super Bowl tickets, and more. Don't miss out. Play smart. Join now. BetUS, where the game begins.
All right, guys, again, shout out once more to BetUS for being a great sponsor on the channel. I want to shout out them as well because I hammered my Steelers on the underdog today. And yes, I know Lamar Jackson wasn't involved. Yes, I know all those things. My Steelers cracked playoffs, but TJ Watt is now out with a torn MCL. So I'm really upset about that. It's like you got one thing, but at what cost? Everything, if you know the memes, right? So again, guys, if you love your NFL playoff slates that are going to be coming right around the corner now, if you like NHL action, NBA action, all your sports betting needs, BetUS has you covered. We're going to be doing unique WardyNYM parlays throughout the 2024 regular season as well, so you guys can do Wardy parlays with me, talking all things Mets pregame and breaking them down postgame, whether we win, lose, indifferent. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. So check them out today, again, by clicking the link in the description, so you too get a 125% boost with your first deposit. And let's see here. I did see a donation. Mike Marino, my man, thank you so much for your donation. I think positive regression will come. Verlander was hurt. Scherzer, McGill, Cookie, Pearson sucked. Senga was adjusting first half. Alvey was a rookie. Yeah, a lot. This team is going to be very different than last year. And there are going to be flaws to the Mets game, absolutely. They're going to be underwhelming at times. But there's also going to be a lot of aspects to the Mets that fans are going to like this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing those fans that were, being so hard against everything the Mets are doing this offseason and saying, okay, I understand it. Even if you don't love the moves, because most people don't love the moves. I'll tell you right now, most moves the Mets have done this offseason I don't love. I've been fairly underwhelmed, all things considered, even when I knew what to expect. Because naturally as a fan, even when I know this, even if I had David Stearns literally whispering in my damn ear saying, Wardy, this season is going to go exactly as planned when it comes to roster construction. This is exactly what we're doing. Even if you told me firsthand, I'm still going to be underwhelmed to see it because we were spoiled as much as we were the past couple of years, each and every offseason under Steve Cohen. We were spoiled with big splashes. So the final time where it's not happening, it's just it's a little difficult for us to digest, knowing that, we're fans of a big market club. We have a dummy money and luxury tax right now, most in baseball, and we're fielding a roster that is third best currently in the division. You could bait third or fourth. You know what I mean? They're right there with Miami. Take your pick. Miami has a starting pitching. They have plenty of weapons, but are they as deep of a team as the Mets? That's an argument certainly to be had. It's a great question, especially if they trade Jesus Luzardo. If they trade that young talent that I would absolutely love in New York Metropolitan pinstripes, if he does be dealt, then we have a different discussion about Miami and what their structure is for the upcoming season. Why don't we sign a guy like Michael Lorenzen? Because the Mets already have Michael Lorenzen type pitchers. They really don't need to anymore. They have enough depth guys. And Michael Lorenzen would have made sense prior to Manaea, not after Lenny Manaea. Very happy we passed on Teoscar. It's not as much of a pass as I think it was. Teo was talking to a couple teams, realized short-term was probably his best option to help his market value. So he said, okay, if I'm going to sign short-term, might as well go to the best team I possibly can on paper in the LA Dodgers. You know how deep that lab's going to be for Teo to just absolutely rake in Dodger Stadium? You know how much fun Teo's going to have with the Dodgers this year? You know how much of a greater likelihood Teo has now of getting a massive payday next offseason should he have a deep playoff run with the Dodgers? Like, he just set himself up beautifully, and that's why the deferred $8.5 million is going to mean very little for him. The same way with Ohtani and others. They're doing it for the greater picture at the end of the day. They're an uber-talented club, the best team on paper, and if the Dodgers do not win it all this season, it's going to be effing hilarious. Truly hilarious. The Dodgers will be the biggest laughing stock in baseball this season if they do not win it all. And the reason is because of everything they did this offseason. The pressure is on them right now. For their sake, hopefully they can leave, be at the same level as the pressure and live up to those expectations. But I don't wish it. I don't have this overwhelming hate with LA as maybe some other people do. But right now, fuck them. You know what? Fuck them. You get CO on that 1 year 23. That pisses me off. It grinds my gears. Even if it makes sense, even if I completely understand why it happened, doesn't change the fact that F you LA. You're pissing me off. All right? And I'm saying this as someone who knows damn well I'm not concerned about the Dodgers this season because I got to look at the teams in front of me. Miami, Philly, Atlanta, just to name a few. And even then, I don't even know how much I'm concerned about them because I'm just concerned about this Mets team and how they're going to look as a whole. So many question marks. Another year, another day that ends in Y where we're talking about the Mets filled with uncertainty and an offseason. Who would have thought? Give me Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller would be a stud. Castillo also doesn't fit the timeline for the Mets. He's only a year into his new contract. He's 31. He doesn't fit the timeline. If the Mets are going to trade for a controllable starter, it's going to be a younger starter with higher upside that has yet to hit either his peak in his career or still is at the top of his ceiling where there's quite a bit more to be had there. But everybody, first chiming in, we're watching a replay. We're breaking down the latest in Mets land. Again, as the New York Metropolitans have brought in Sean Manaea on a 2-year, $28 million deal to help out round out their rotation. He's a starter. He's a reliever. He's Trevor Williams. No, that's Sean Manaea, who's hoping to eat quality innings for the Mets, work on that sweeper more, get that splitty going, and hopefully have the Mets with a 3.5 or so ERA. That's wishful thinking on my end, but hey, maybe we're going to get that with Manaea. Maybe Manaea's going to have a 6 ERA. I don't even know. I'm just telling you that what we've seen projection-wise, Manaea actually projects pretty well this upcoming season. His mix looks nice. And the optimism, again, behind Manaea is the work he's done the past couple off seasons. His ability to not only stay healthy, but really find his game and fine-tune it as a veteran. Something we don't see with everybody nowadays, too. Guys get lost early, and then before you know it, you're like, wow, this guy's 30, 31, and he's already a has-been. He's basically out of the league because he just couldn't make the proper adjustments. Not the case here with Sean Manaea, and I think his adjustments is going to give him more longevity in the league. Also, just separately for a second, everybody, I want to give a shout out to, I forget which one of them tweeted, one of the boys from the Shannon Sons podcast on Twitter earlier. When I saw the Sean Manaea signing, and when I thought about Sean Manaea, I naturally am drawn to thinking about Taijuan Walker. Not in release point or anything like that. It's a righty and lefty. They have very different arsenals, as a whole, how they present their work. But I don't know if it's just the funky hair or what, because when Ty was a Met as well, if he wasn't doing the tight, like the cornrows or the dreads, he had his hair nice and poofy. We saw that in Philly too. Manaea is known for the poof, and funny enough, one of the guys at Shane Sons put their numbers side by side. And it's ridiculous how near identical Sean Manaea and Taijuan Walker's career has been at this point, everybody. Just look at this stat line. It's actually nuts. If I can get this focused for you. I don't know if I'll be able to get it focused for you, so I'll just read them off right now. WAR throughout their career. Taijuan Walker is a 12.7. Manaea is a 12. Games being involved in. 198 for Ty, 196 for Manaea. Games started. Taijuan Walker, 194. Manaea, 166. Innings pitched, 1,070 for Taijuan, 1,002 for Manaea. Win-loss record, Taijuan's 69 and 56. Manaea is 65 and 56, which is actually impressive knowing that he was on the A's for as long as he was. Save, Manaea, of course, has a save because he was a reliever this past season too. ERA, career ERA, 3.97 for Ty. For Sean, 4.1. ERA plus, 104 for Ty. Sean Manaea 100. What does that mean? Sean Manaea is quite literally, throughout career total, is the most average pitcher in baseball. That is what ERA plus means. Just like OPS plus, where 100 means you are the average batter, he is quite literally the average pitcher, like to an absolute T when looking at his career totals. Strikeouts, Taijuan Walker, 944. Sean Manaea, 925. K percentage, 21, 22.1 for Manaea. Walk percentage, walks in his career, 355. Manaea, 272. Definitely better than the walk rate for sure. Walk percentage, Manaea 6.5 to Taiwan's 7.9. Isn't that kind of odd? Very odd how similar both those pitchers are, given the fact that they have little similarities in their looks as is, mainly just the hair, and when it's poofy. Manaea gives me very much like Aquaman vibes. That's exactly what I think every time I see Manaea. So I don't know if the Mets plan on doing anything promo-wise at Citi Field, but you know how you did like a dope promo for Starling Marte as Black Panther? You should really figure out a dope promo with DC and have Manaea be Aquaman, and you're welcome in advance. Let me know if you guys like that idea. I think that's a brilliant idea. I think it's a brilliant marketing scheme to get, 30,000 Mets fans lined up right away to get a Manaea bobblehead. You know, if we're going to get creative about marketing Manaea, him as a DC Aquaman bobblehead would get it done. I'm telling you right now. Bucket. Sign me up. But guys, we're going to be wrapping up the show in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So at this time, I really just want to take your comments, questions, and concerns. You said it already, Aquaman. There you go. I've expanded on Manaea at great length already, so I'm not going to do too much more here. I'll just brief. Again, he has the fastball that says 94, 95, the slide piece 82, the changeup. But again, he's been working with the sweeper, which he's seen nice success with. He's toying with a splitty. I like what Manaea has here. And when you look at his 2022 numbers, are horrendous. He was one of the worst pitchers in 2022. 2023, very much along a mixture of league average to slightly below league average, and that goes in hand with how much he started versus used as a reliever. I'd imagine that Manaea more often than not is going to be starting for the Mets, but if say that falters, could just be the perfect multi-inning reliever for them, eating garbage time or just eating quality innings whenever they need them to because of injuries, lack of consistency from the starters, whatever it may be. Thoughts on game Freddie Peralta. I've done a video recently which highlighted Freddie Peralta and Mets 5 pitching target video, starting pitching target video. Check it out. Just came out a couple days ago. I like Freddie Peralta a lot. I think he's absolutely a guy you give up a strong prospect return for. Multiple years of control. His expected numbers, his advanced numbers are beautiful. I like Freddie Peralta a lot. I would love to see David Stearns rekindle that relationship with him. But I think that's really wishful thinking right now until proven otherwise. I don't expect the Mets to add any more to the rotation currently. Thoughts on Logan Gilbert? Absolutely love the Mets to trade for him. Love Logan Gilbert too. Again, a guy that would be awesome. I think at this point, guys, these are starters that we might be able to turn back to around the trade deadline more so than now, just because it appears the Mets have things rounded out. Again, I would love to be proven wrong, but I don't foresee that to be the case at this current juncture. We're wasting our core, and they are getting older. Here's the thing, Kane. The Mets have a lot coming off the books. And when you think about the core in reality, it consists of 3 players. Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo. Yes, we do not want to waste those years, obviously, and I hope that this is a very competitive 2024. But I think we also need to realize that this core that the Mets have is also going to be changing. It may, not that I wish it, but there is a world where the 2025 New York Mets do not feature Pete Alonso or Jeff McNeil. So let that sink in for a minute. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't wish it to happen, especially on Pete's case. I want him to be Met the rest of his career, the rest of his damn life. I want him to make it into Cooperstown wearing his damn Mets hat. Having said that, the 2025 offseason is going to be one to behold, regardless of what the Mets do in 2024. It's going to be nuts. Absolutely nuts. So I'm not as concerned about the core right now because here's the thing. The free agent market didn't even give the Mets proper options to warrant wanting to go all in on these long-term contracts as part of the core. It will not leave the Mets to an amount of success that they'd be hoping for. I assure you that one. Because this market is dog shit. It's top heavy. Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, once they were out, so much changed. Don't get me wrong, there's guys I would like. I would have not been opposed to Teoscar Hernandez. But why in God's name would he even sniff the idea of coming here? Makes 1,000 times more sense to go to LA and do exactly what he just did with that 1 year, $23 million contract, including $8.5 million of deferment. Ooh, Rhys Hoskins as a DH fit. Rhys hasn't been talked about much at all, and I'm not going to lie. especially given the Mets' philosophy this offseason and kind of being willing to take on some of these reclamation projects. Rhys missed all of last season due to injury. He's a lock for 2025 home runs from the DH position at first base. I've always despised Rhys Hoskins during his time with the Phillies. I think he's a little bitch for overreacting to Jacob Rhame, who's anything but an MLB caliber pitcher. But yes, we're going to get our panties in twists because he threw how far around, how close by him when he didn't even touch him. It's ridiculous. I think Rhys is a little bit of a... Rhys gives the meathead vibe. This is what he gives. He's been perfect for Philly for that exact reason. But if the Mets bring in Rhys on a one-year deal, maybe with a second-year option, for DH, I'm not opposed to that. They automatically get immediate power. There's younger, more upside. Yes, there's risk involved because he's coming off of a significant injury, but I firmly believe Rhys Hoskins is going to bounce back nicely wherever he lands. Having said that all, I still love the idea of a JD Martinez, a Jorge Soler, a Justin Turner. What about Javi Baez at third base? No, thank you, Richard. I'm good. Harrison, there's no need to spam anything in the chat right now, Harrison. The Mets are not making any active signings. Don't bother. No need to spam Hector Gomez. It's okay. I'm sure what Hector reported, there's a solid chance that was a very up in the air report. Unfortunately, that's been the case a lot with Hector. Yeah, Hoskins is very airy. Yeah, just how I apparently am, Nathan. There's no news. Stop. Yeah, we're good. We don't need to talk about Hector Gomez right now. All right, guys, we're going to be wrapping things up in a minute or two. But before I do, I want to thank you all so much once more that chime in the live show as we're breaking down the latest. As again, the New York Metropolitans have signed Sean Manaea on that multi-year deal with a player option after the first year. We'll see if he opts into it or not. What we will see and what everyone is waiting for is to, again, see what is next in store. I know that the Mets still need to address the bullpen, DH at absolute minimum. I really hope that they can get the job done and address all these things. It's about Jorge Soler. Fine, I'll bite. Fine, Harrison, I take back what I said. But here's the thing, though. It's not regarding the Mets, or else you would have said it. Every time I try to look up Hector Gomez on Twitter, and he follows me, mind you, I can never seem to find him. I don't understand why. Thank you for tagging me, Harrison. Blue Jays, Mariners, Diamondbacks continue showing interest in the Cuban star, as well as the Red Sox have been very aggressive, apparently, Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler in Boston. Jorge Soler with the Green Monster would destroy baseballs. And after Boston having a lackluster effort in trying to land Teoscar Hernandez, they offered Teo a 2-year, $28 million deal. Like, if Teo's taking short term, he's going to LA. That's what he did. So Soler, again, another guy that is not coming here more than likely. So I'm not getting cooped up on him. But what I am getting cooped up on, Lord, thank you for chiming in. Thank you for the donations as well, my friend. I greatly appreciate it. One more thing I'll say before I wrap things up, everybody. The Mets, what they have done to this point, while it definitely leaves a bit to be desired, they still have a chance to round out this offseason and put themselves in position to be a club that we can look forward to this season. As of right now, I'm still looking forward to the season. The excitement level isn't as astronomical as it could be, of course, but I'm looking forward to it. Naturally, as a fan that's going to cover them win, lose, or indifferent, it's always going to happen on my end. You know, I can't dick around even if I want to. You know, this is not just fandom, but this is my livelihood. This is my career. I literally do this for a living. You know, so I regardless on how the team looks, I'm going to be covering them to an absolute T. And if they can just, again, get a solidified bat in DH, round out the bullpen with some high leverage options, not guys, I'm not asking for Josh Hader, dude. I'm just asking for a 1-year David Robertson deal. I'm just asking for a 1-year Matt Moore, Brent Suter deal. I'm not asking for much. We'll see if that's enough, or maybe I'm just getting my hopes up once again. Thank you all so much for watching. Love you to death. Stay tuned. We'll be back live, barring any breaking news potentially over the next 24 hours. We'll be back on here 8 p.m. Eastern this Monday. Myself and Jolly Olive going over what are the remaining moves that the Mets have to do. What will they do? We'll look at the club as a whole, position by position, what the Mets have there currently, their depth, and how they're shaping up for the 2024 season. Really excited for that conversation with Jolly. Hope to see you all there. So have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. And we got a lot of people watching on replay. This is your boy Wardy signing out. Let's go Mets, baby.